Hey, this is Zero at ReviewZoneHD, and I'm bringing you guys a review for the PlayStation 3 version of Dead Island Riptide, which is a true sequel to the original title that released in 2011. I've already been asked now a few times if the new title feels like just an expansion or an all-new game, and I would like to clear the air on that one right away. This game is much bigger, much longer, and has a very different look to the actual island itself, so it's in no way, shape, or form to be considered as just an expansion. The one thing that hasn't changed is the actual gameplay, which mirrors what we saw in the first title. If you didn't play the first game, they do a really good job with the opening cutscenes to get you somewhat caught up with the story, so you don't have to play the first title to enjoy this one. However, if you did spend time on the first game, they do allow you to import your character from the original, which is what I did. And if you don't have a character to import, you begin the game with any of the 4 original characters or a new one that was created for this title. And you also get the benefit of having 14 ability points to spend as soon as you enter the game. They also raised the level cap and added an additional way to level up your weapon skills, so in other words, you're not going to be gimped or left behind unless you're playing with friends that have maxed out characters from the first game, and even then you're still going to have a pretty good point to begin with and you're going to catch up pretty quickly. With all that said, let's go ahead and get into the review. Graphically, the world looks absolutely stunning on here. I love how the first game looked. It's what drove me to enjoy killing zombie after zombie, and I felt the same way about this title. I made a complaint about how the trees looked up close on a video that I did for Tiger Woods PGA Tour 14 a few weeks ago, and one of my viewers mentioned that the developers had stated they were using the full potential of the PlayStation 3. But after seeing how nice the lush vegetation and highly detailed grass, trees, and water look on this game, somebody really should send a memo over to the developers for Tiger Woods and have them take a look at this game and take some notes. The middle portion of the jungle is filled with river and swamp areas that allow you to boat travel your way through, complete with floating zombies that spring to life when you draw close. The gore is just as intense as it was in the first game, and a lot of the animations when attacking zombies also carries over. What I'm about to discuss next is a little bit tricky because I'm unable to get any information or feedback on if the issues that I was having was a universal problem or not, but I did notice several frame rate issues that seem to come and go as they please, with the first 3 hours being the worst and it progressively got better. I spoke to another reviewer that had an Xbox 360 version of the game, and he didn't have any frame rate issues at all with his copy, so that part of the game's a big question mark since I'm writing this review before the title is actually released.
Hey! You talking to yourself again? Man, I worry about your sanity sometimes.
In the original game, the story starts off with your character waking up after a night of partying to a complete zombie takeover. After managing to stay alive and survive the original ordeal, you finally escape the island by snagging a helicopter ride, and that is exactly where this title starts off. Without spoiling anything, you arrive on an aircraft carrier, and through a tragic series of events, you're once again stranded on a nearby island, which also has been infected with the zombie plague. The main story quests and the real-time cutscenes that are telling the story do a great job of painting the dire picture that you would expect to have being trapped on an island full of flesh-eating zombies. Of course, to lighten things up or to annoy your co-op friends, you can always jump into the background of their cutscenes and do things like this. I don't know why, but it just cracks me up every time I see this. I had to show it to you guys. Nothing like having a few friends with a good sense of humor. Beyond just having a different environment with new areas to explore, they have added some rather interesting new features to the gameplay. Of course, you have some new enemies, but they've also added a new dynamic weather system that works really well. When you're walking through a swamp and look up at the trees and see the sunlight shining through it and then a light rain begins coming down, it's very warming and peaceful, and then reality kind of sets in that you're being hunted down by waves of zombies and you have to start paying attention to the ground again. But the jungle areas brought back memories of some scenes from a few war movies that I really enjoy, like Tears of the Sun and Platoon. There's new zombie horde events that are similar to Left 4 Dead's end of stage showdowns, in which you barricade yourself up into an area and try your best to defend it. However, you're not only worried about keeping your own skin on your bones, you have NPCs that are fighting for their life around you that you have to keep track of as well. I never saw one actually bite the dust, so I can't confirm if it's possible for them to die or not, but it does certainly intensify the situation either way. Just like in the original title, parts of the basic gameplay such as navigating certain structures, fighting large waves of enemies, or even sometimes interacting with certain objects can feel at times to be a bit clunky. But the good far outweighs the bad if you're willing to immerse yourself into the situation, take your time, and pay attention to what's actually unfolding with the story. Depending on what region that you're located in, there's several versions of this title available for sale, but the standard US release can be picked up from any GameStop at a reduced cost of $49.99, which is slightly cheaper than most new full release games. When the original title released, it had a few technical issues that were later patched with an update, and the version that I reviewed earlier this year was the patched version, and for me it ran pretty well. And I ran across a couple bugs while playing through this game, but none of them affected the gameplay enough to deter the overall fun experience of exploring the new game world. If you enjoyed the original game, you're going to enjoy this title. If you didn't play the original game, then the new features and online co-op should be enough reason to give this new title a chance. However, if you're solely looking to play offline, you may not get as much out of this title, as it has definitely been streamlined towards playing with a buddy or two. If you played the original and got burned out on killing hundreds of zombies, then the new features and story may not appeal to you as much, because the core and focus of this game is still hacking, bashing, and shooting your way through the island. Just like with the Fallout series, it's not meant for speed runs, and like a fine wine, it's better to take your time with it instead of going in expecting to be running through the forest at full speed, gunning down everything in sight like it's Call of Duty. It did seem like there was a lot more ammo and guns available for you, so for you trigger-happy gamers out there, that may be a bigger reason to give this title a chance. Now, I really enjoyed the first game, and even though I had some frame rate issues and the occasional bug, I still had a lot of fun playing through this one, and it's one that I would recommend if you're not an overly picky gamer looking for a flawlessly polished title. Anyways, this is Zero at ReviewZoneHD, and thanks for stopping by.